What's going on, guys? It's Vile. Today I wanted to hop on and upload my first devlog. I felt the urgency to upload this one first because I have been scouring YouTube and I have not been able to find what I'm going to show you guys today. I have been able to find videos that have helped me and have taught me enough to be able to tweak my script into what I need it to be, which is an enemy that will patrol a specific area and will only aggro onto the player once the player has entered a raycast 2D detection area. It'll also include a script that will allow your enemy, if it has animations for taking damage, dying, and dealing damage. I did want to give a shout out to a couple channels that taught me so much about enemy movement and about GD script in general. And the main one I wanted to shout out was Wisconsinite. I'm going to link his channel in the description below, as well as Devworm. Also will link below, and MakerTech. These are the three creators on YouTube that I'm so grateful for. I've learned so much, and I've been able to implement the structure of their scripts and tweak it to what I need for my game, which I encourage everyone to do. Because of course, you know your game, you know what you're trying to make, and even with this video, I hope this gives you the tools that you can use to create the game that you need and that you want to see. So I do have some enemies in this game that will automatically lock on to my player's position, which is good for certain enemies. I have a little spider, I have a bat. It's fine if they lock onto my position immediately and aggro the moment I arrive into the game. But for certain enemies, I did not want that behavior. I wanted an enemy that was going to patrol an area and have different states. So for example, this enemy right here, this skeleton, has two states. He has a wander and a chase state. My player movement is mainly on the X axis. And so I needed my enemy to behave on the X axis as well. And so right here you can see that he's kind of just patrolling. He doesn't see me yet. But if I hop down here, once he flips over, he'll notice me. He's going to see me. Oh, and then he's going to book his ass over to me. He's going to book it, right? So now he's going to chase me. So I have an animated sprite 2D for this enemy. When I hit him, he has an animation, and when I hit him, he has a little knockback force, right? That you could see. And then he dies. So this code will show you how to get those animations working. This is something separate. I can also make a little video on this. He happens to have loot. He drops a little skull, which in my game is going to be currency. I have an inventory system set up. This won't be part of this video, but it can be something that I do make a video on if you guys need it. Definitely, again, shout out to MakerTech. MakerTech is the reason I understand and have implemented an inventory system in my game. Help me learn how to, put the little note there of what it is. It's a skull. Drag it, drop it. Have a hotbar system here. All that good stuff. So that won't be part of this video, but if you need that, I could drop links to MakerTech, or I can make a quick little video on it for you guys. So you're going to want to make an enemy scene. If you don't already have one, this is what mine looks like. My character is a character body 2D. It has an animated sprite with several different animations. Importantly, the star of the show here, because this is something I needed to learn, was a raycast 2D, and you want that to be a child of your animated sprite 2D. Then I have my collision shape, which is of course necessary for your character body. I have a hitbox. I have a deal damage area. I instantiated a health bar for my enemies that also can be another video if you guys are interested in that. so that my player can die and can take damage, which is essential to at least the death portion of this video. In order for the death animation to play, you're going to have a function for your enemy to die. And then I have a timer. So my timer, right off bat, definitely make sure your timer is clicked off for one shot. Important. And then the wait time, we can get into that in a little bit, but the wait time is what I set here to 5 seconds, meaning that that timer comes into play when I'm no longer in his line of sight, he doesn't see me, and after that 5 seconds, he goes right back to the wander state. Okay, so we're going to hop into the skeleton script. So for my enemy script, I always set a class name. I suggest you guys do the same. Mine is skeleton enemy. It's easy to reference these things throughout your other scripts. For example, for your player script, you might need to reference this, which I do. The way I have my damage system set up, I need it referenced here. So if I'm in a damage area of any one of these enemies, and this list can go on and on as needed, my player hitbox knows to take damage from the skeleton enemy. So class names are always super helpful. Then we're going to have an export variable for our player, which is going to be a character body 2D, which you are going to need. This part is actually really important. Because once you instantiate into your world scene the skeleton, you're going to see over here, you're going to have to assign which character body 2D you want your skeleton, or your enemy rather, to be assigned to and to be the one chasing. In my case, it's going to be the player. Then we're going to have an export variable for chase speed and speed. And acceleration. These are all numbers you can tweak for your game. My little guy is going to be at a little slow speed initially in the wander state of 20. So he's just kind of being chilling out there. Then the chase speed and acceleration, he's going to start booking it to you once he sees you. So you could change those numbers if you want it faster or slower. You're going to want to do an onReady variable for your animated sprite so that you can call the animations later in the script. A quick way to do this, actually, just to show you guys, just to save a little bit of time. When you go to click and drag your animated sprite reference here, you can click it and then you can hit the control button. And when you drag it, it'll leave behind that whole line that you need instead of having to type it out. So you're going to want to do the same thing for your raycast 2D and for your timer. These three are the ones relevant for this script. The loot is not relevant for this, so you can ignore that. For me, your game might be different, but I'm using the default Godot gravity settings, so I reference that here in the script. You want to set your direction, and we're going to create 2 variables for right bounds and for left bounds. All 3 of those are going to be vector 2. You're also going to need health and a dead variable if you want this script to fully flesh out and work for you. As far as the health system, I can also go over that in another video if you guys need that, or I can reference the video that I learned it from. But mine, I have health is 100, health max is 100, health min is going to be 0. And then we have some variables here, is roaming, taking damage. Both are bools, 1 true, 1 false. The damage to deal is going to be 20. You could change this for your game. My skeleton is just doing 20 damage per hit. Variable is dealing damage, a bool, which is going to be false on start. And then dead is also going to be a bool that is false on start because you don't want your enemy to start off dead in the scene. So here we have a little state machine that we created. The 2 states are going to be wander and chase. And then we're going to make a variable here for our current state, which our current state is going to be wander. On our onReady, we're going to reference those two variables up top for the left and the right bounds. This vector2 number you can actually change. This is just what I have it to. Basically what this 120 is the how many tiles that he's going to be wandering back and forth on. So you can make this, if you want like a wider distance that you want him to patrol or wander, you can make that number bigger. For my game and for this little portion of where he's patrolling, this is the number I chose. You could definitely change it, but I have it as 120 and 0. Then down in our physics process, we're going to be calling 4 functions, and those 4 functions we're going to create right now. But the first one's going to be handle gravity, handle movement, change direction, and look for player. So the first function we're going to make that we're calling in the physics process is look for player. So if our raycast is colliding, and I'm referencing a global script that I have in this game. If you don't already have a global script, I'll quickly show you mine. Global scripts I do highly suggest. They are super helpful. These are variables that you can call, and because they're saved as global in your project settings, you can call them in any script, and it's basically like a universal variable. So here I have my player alive variable, which is a bool, and it equals true. And so if you want to, copy this one, and you can amend it as needed. But I do suggest even if you just have the player alive variable in your global script, even that is super helpful, and it will be necessary for this enemy script. So you're going to want to make a node script. You can write down your variable. You could save it as its own script, and then you're going to want to go to project settings, globals, and then you're going to want to load that script. And once you see it down here, you're going to want to click enable, and then you're going to want to hit close. So now you can call this variable from any script that you're to make in your game. All right, so we go back down to our script. So if the raycast 2D is colliding and if our player is alive, we're going to make another variable here for collider, which is going to be the raycast get collider. If the collider equals player, so if the collider is connecting with the player, essentially if he is in line of sight of the enemy, we're going to call the function chase player. Else if current state is going to equal chase. And then we're going to call the stop chase function. For our chase player function, it's 2 simple lines. We have our timer, so we're going to reference the variable we made up top for our timer. So our timer dot stop, and then current state is going to equal chase. For our stop chase function, we're going to make an if statement. So if the timer dot time left is less or equal to 0, we're going to start that timer. So timer dot start. Then for our handle movements function, we're going to make handle movement. It's going to be a delta. It's going to be a float. And then we're going to make the if statement. If current state equals wander, then we're going to set the velocity. So the velocity move toward, else velocity move toward. So that's going to be the code for that. And then important, we're going to want to make sure we have the built-in Godot function of move and slide under that. For our change direction function, this is actually the largest chunk of code. Here, let me actually close that out. This is going to be the chunkiest part of the code here. So if you want to pause that and review that real quick. We can go over it. So I have these are variables that I made. You can change these variables as you need, but for my game, this is what it required, and this is what I'm working with. So feel free to copy it. Feel free to amend it as you need. So if our enemy is not dead and not taking damage and is not dealing damage, and our current state is wander, we're going to want our animated sprite to play the animation walking. Then down here, we're going to have code for the sprite flipping left and right. This might be different for your sprite. My sprite kind of spawns in facing right. So you may need to take this exclamation point away, and that might work for you. Definitely play around with it. See what it needs for your game for it to work. Else, and then we're also going to be moving that left and right. Else if not dead and is taking damage and is not dealing damage, we're going to want our animated sprite to play taking damage. This portion right here is totally optional. It's something I added to my game because I liked the way it looked. I liked the way it functioned. This is a knockback direction function. This is not necessary, but if you want it, you could definitely add it. It basically gives that effect of knocking the enemy back once your attack connects with it. So in my case, I have a projectile. Once my projectile collides with the enemy's hitbox, it's going to knock it back, specifically negative 15 feet from my player's position. So feel free to add that if you want. We're going to await create timer 0.3. And then we're going to want the enemy sprite to go back to walking once the taking damage animation is completed. Else if not dead and is dealing damage, you're going to want your animated sprite to play attack. Then we're going to await another little timeout. Is dealing damage is false. So basically this won't be spam hitting your player. This gives it a 0.8 second timer before it can deal damage to your player again. So it gives it a little bit of a cooldown on dealing damage. And then we're going to want it to resume walking once it plays that animation of attack. Else if not dead and your player is still alive. So basically if the enemy is not dead and your player is still alive, it's going to enter the chase state and it's going to follow the player. So to do that, the direction is going to equal the player's position minus the enemy's self position dot normalized. And then it's going to flip it accordingly using this code here. Else if the enemy is dead and is roaming is going to equal false. These are variables we created earlier. Dealing damage is going to be false. And then you're going to want to reference your collision shape on your skeleton here. And what this is going to do right here, this line of code is basically going to, once your enemy dies, it's going to die in place. It's not going to die and do the death animation while sliding all over the floor. It's going to grab that collision shape once it is declared dead. And the position.y equals 15 and the velocity.x equals 0 is going to basically keep your enemy in place once it dies. Then you're going to want to play your death animation. And then once you await your timer of 1 second, you're going to call the handle death function. The handle gravity function is going to be a delta. It's going to be a float. And we're going to make a small little if statement. So if not is on floor, your velocity.y is plus equal to gravity times delta. In your process function, this right here isn't necessarily relevant to this video, but again, I can make a video on it. This is referencing the damage that it's going to deal to my player. that I showed previously in my player script. So this is kind of referencing that here. But this is the part that's relevant right here. So the one thing I encountered when tweaking this code was my game was breaking once my player died from the enemy. And that is because up here, if you remember, we went over the chase. The enemy code is dependent on the player's position, so it knows how to behave. So it knows to chase the player based on my global position. But if the player's dead, naturally the game will break because your player is no longer in the scene, and you're going to get an error from Godot saying that the player is null. So that means that the enemy no longer knows how to behave because your player is no longer in the scene. So to fix that and to ensure that your game does not break and that it goes smoothly, I added an if statement here in my process. So if my player equals false, so if my player is dead, we're going to set the state back to wander. And that should fix the issue. I know it fixed the issue for me. So that way it knows, okay, once it's dead, we know not to break the game, and we know to go back to wander. So then for your timer, you're going to want to click your timer here in your skeleton scene or your enemy scene. Once you hit the timer, you're going to want to go to node. And again, make sure that one shot is clicked off. You're going to want to go to node, and then you're going to want to go under the timeout function. You're going to double click it. Mine's already connected, but just to show you guys, you're going to want to connect it here to your skeleton scene and then hit connect. And it's going to populate this function here. It'll show you this, and we're just going to add one line of code, and it's going to be the current state equals states.wander. So we're referencing the timer here. This function is not necessarily relevant. This is, again, for this to fully work, you will have to have a damage system of your own. If you don't already, I can definitely go over that for you in a separate video. But in this case, this is just referencing my fireball and how much damage it deals. And it calls the take damage function so that the enemy knows, oh, once there's a fireball all up in my hitbox, it knows to take 25 damage. And it knows to affect the health bar of the enemy. And that's that take damage function. So I am going to show it here if you guys need it. So this is my take damage function. Health minus equals damage. Taking damage is going to be set to true. If health is less or equal to health minimum, health equals health minimum, and dead is going to be true. So that's going to determine, that's the logic behind my character dealing damage and enemy taking damage and the enemy dying. I can also reference, I could show you my player script as well, because my player script also has a take damage function as well to make it work. I have a function for dealing with the death animation, same kind of thing I showed you earlier. It's going to lock my player in place once I die. I have a take damage cooldown, that way I'm also not taking a ton of damage constantly. That's just updating face direction, player. This is on my player hitbox. And these are separate. These are not relevant to this, but that is for health items. I can also show you guys that if you need it. How to collect health items and then how to have those health items affect your health bar. But yeah, I have a lot of, my player script is quite long. I can go over my player script if you guys are looking for something similar to what I have. Being able to climb ladders, being able to collect items, being able to collect health items, you know, being able to deal projectile damage, referencing, here, like what damage I'm going to be receiving, all that good stuff. We're going to open up the death function, and then handle death is going to be, for me, I have a loot code. I can also go over that in another video, so that's not necessarily relevant here, but what you are going to grab from here is the handle death. Is this line of code under the handle death. So you're going to do self.queueFree. So what that's going to do is when you call this function up here when you die, you're basically going to queue free the enemy from the scene. So it's going to vanish. So once it dies, it knows to delete itself. And here you can call other functions. So once it does delete itself, if you want loot to drop, this will be the place to add that code. And that should be it for this video. I do appreciate you guys. Hopefully you guys were able to stop and pause in the places that you needed to. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me. Drop a comment. Let me know if there's a video you do need me to make. If there's a video that you haven't been able to find on YouTube, maybe I can help you with. I am also still learning in real time as well. I've only been doing game dev for a few months. So the amount of progress has been incredible, and I just wanted to contribute to other aspiring game devs like me that are working through all of this material and trying to figure out how to implement it in your game. I just know the feeling of getting frustrated when you're like, oh, I want this code to work for me. How do I get it to work for me? So that's been something I've been struggling and working through on my own. So I really hope you guys found this to be valuable. I do plan on uploading a ton of other things that I've been able to kind of make my own and feel it's valuable enough to share with you guys and show a different type of video that, I haven't been able to see. I appreciate everyone. I am going to be dropping a little game preview of my game that I'm working on, which is this game. I'm very excited for it to drop, and it's going to be free on Steam eventually when it is ready to be released. And I would love for you guys to check that out. I've been working very passionately on this game, and it's going to be the first game under my belt. I do plan on working on other types of projects next. I want to do like an isometric game, a 3D game eventually. Definitely hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be dropping a lot more devlogs like this. I am a streamer, a live streamer on Twitch. My info there will also be down in the description. And I appreciate you all. Thank you so much.